Hey, everybody. It's the middle of the summer, and there's not a ton of news happening right now with the Calgary Flames. And so I figured I'd use part of my summer to try to learn something. And so here's the thing you need to know about me. I was born in Calgary, much like a lot of people born in Calgary. My parents aren't from Western Canada. My parents are both born in Nova Scotia. They moved to Calgary when they were younger. And so I grew up a Flames fan, and now I cover the Flames. I don't think I'm fairly atypical of sort of the Calgary experience. And part of the interesting thing about growing up in southern Alberta and then getting older and sort of having increasing ties to other places in the province is that I have a lot of my loved ones, friends, family, whoever that are Oilers fans and are from different parts of the province. And I've always been really fascinated about the dynamic there in terms of Flames fans and Oilers fans. Particularly, I grew up as a Flames fan because I was born in Calgary and my dad was a Flames fan, and so we watched those Flames games together. And so, again, I don't think that's fairly atypical, but just the idea of who becomes an Oilers fan, why they become Oilers fans, and similarly, who becomes a Flames fan and why they become Flames fans. So that's something I was very curious about, and given that there's nothing else going on right now, I thought I'd delve into it. And so, because I was bored and I had the chance, I threw a couple questions onto Twitter. So on July 8th, here's what I posted. On Twitter, I asked the following. Hockey fans in Alberta, I'm working on a video project and have two simple questions. What Alberta city/town do you reside in? Do you primarily cheer for the Flames or the Oilers? I received a bunch of responses on Twitter. I also posted this on Blue Sky. I didn't really get any responses on Blue Sky. For better or for worse, Flames, Oilers, and hockey fans in general seem to be primarily on Twitter. So I received a bunch of responses in direct replies. I received a bunch of responses in DMs. I included both. If I received an answer that said they weren't in Alberta, I threw it out. If you said you were from a particular place in Alberta but live elsewhere now, I included it. If you said you were from Alberta presently but you cheer for neither the Flames or the Oilers, I threw it out. I really needed the answers to where in Alberta and who do you cheer for. And so I received a bunch of answers. I received 290 valid responses between Twitter replies and DMs. I plugged them into an Excel tracker with a unique response number, the person's social media tag to prevent duplication, and the city/town and the team they're cheering for. And so here's what I ended up getting for results. First of all, really high level responses. 216 Flames fans and 74 Oilers fans. 96 respondents were from Calgary, 31 from Edmonton. And outside of the two big cities, we had 84 different Alberta cities and towns represented overall, which basically includes Calgary and Edmonton, and then 82 different smaller places, which I think is kind of fun. There's a lot of hockey fans in Alberta, and they're from all over the place, and that's really awesome. So here's the thing. I cover the Flames, as you probably are aware of. And because I cover the Flames, most of my followers are probably Flames fans, disproportionately so. So based on what I think I know about Alberta hockey fans, I think it's safe to say that there's probably more Oilers fans in Alberta than Flames fans. And so if you look at the responses we got from my survey, we probably have overrepresented Flames fans and underrepresented Oilers fans. And when you consider that I cover the Flames, and so most of my followers are probably Flames fans, that makes sense. I think that's fairly logical. And when I say I think there are more Oilers fans than Flames fans in Alberta, my main evidence is the followers on the official team social media channels. If you go to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and look at the Edmonton Oilers and Calgary Flames official channels, across the board, the Oilers have more followers. And to be blunt, it's not all that close. Similarly, if you're trying to use a proxy for hardcore fans, we can use the followers on social media for Oilers Nation and Flames Nation because we love you guys. You're our hardcore fans. And so, again, across the board, it's heavily skewed towards Oilers Nation over Flames Nation. And so I don't think it's unfair to say, yeah, there's probably more fans of one than the other right now. And So that'll come up later. I'll give you my theories as to why that is at the end of this. But just this is the dynamics of it. When we look at the patterns across the board, we're probably underrepresenting the actual level of Oilers fandom in the province. I don't think it invalidates the data. The pattern is what the pattern is, and the responses are the responses we got. But as you're looking at this, there's more Oilers fans here than meets the eye based on the responses I got. So let's just quickly go on a tour of Alberta, and you can kind of see what I mean in terms of the patterns. Overall, yeah, a lot of red in southern Alberta, as you would expect. Occasional specks of blue here and there. I believe one of those is Canmore, and the other one is Hinton. Actually, the other one is Hannah, not Hinton. I got no responses from Hinton, but I would say Hinton's an Oilers city. But yeah, you would probably expect Canmore should be a Flames place, but the responses we got were Oilers. Hannah is the home of Hockey Hall of Famer Lanny McDonald. Probably an Oilers fan base is there, but I would say based on everything around it, it probably should be red. But in the responses we got, it was blue. When you move a little bit north to north central Alberta, you become a little bit more blue. Again, as you would expect, you get to Red Deer and then start moving north. More and more blue, still some red. I would suggest that the red is probably a little bit overrepresented. High Prairie, we got told Flames. Based on the area around it, probably Oilers. Bonnyville, we got told Flames. Maybe it might be Oilers. The response we got for those couple red Oilers Edmonton suburbs, I would suggest the data, if we got more of a sample, those would turn blue. But as you can see, anecdotally, the general theory has been, you're going to see a lot of Flames fans in southern Alberta, but as you drive north, you'll see more and more Oilers jerseys. And the general trend in the data suggests, yeah, that's probably the case. Red Deer itself was about 60-40 towards Flames fans in our responses. Having spent some time there, having some friends in the area, I would suggest it should probably be closer to 50-50. But, that's kind of a pattern we're seeing in a lot of major-ish centers in Alberta. Again, if we go to, let's start with Calgary and Edmonton. Edmonton, hardcore Oilers fans, lots of Oilers fans, a few Flames fans, a smidgen of Flames fans there. Calgary, a lot of Flames fans, a few Oilers fans. If you compare the amount of Oilers fans in Calgary to Flames fans in Edmonton, the Oilers fans in Calgary are a larger proportion. And I think if you've been to a Battle of Alberta game in either city, you probably see that based on the crowd. You see a lot of blue in the stands at Scotiabank Saddledome, more than you would see red at Rogers Place. I just think that's a reflection of just sort of how the fan bases are and sort of how the cities are set up. Once you get to southern Alberta, Lethbridge, mostly Flames, but a significant proportion of Oilers fans. Medicine Hat, same kind of thing. So yeah, it's Oilers fans are less of a rarity south of Red Deer than Flames fans are north of Red Deer. The Oilers are, I would say, in the data, the Oilers are a minority. Once you go north, they're the majority. I would suggest, since I mentioned Oilers fans are probably underrepresented in the sample, if we're looking at the real numbers, I would argue that if you're a Flames fan north of Red Deer, you are probably going to be one of a handful. There might be a small group of you at any gathering. Whereas if you're an Oilers fan south of Red Deer, you probably know a bunch of people who are like you, a blue minority in the sea of red, so to speak. So, I wasn't overly surprised by the responses we got, but I was kind of impressed by sort of the amount of spread we got in terms of the geography of the province. We got folks from far south to far north, border to border. So I was pretty excited to see the amount of people who responded. And I was also kind of stoked that we got a lot of smaller places represented and that Flames fans cover years. I thought it was kind of nice that we got some Oilers fans responding because, this was sort of meant to sort of provide as much of a complete picture as I could find about the province. And I think I learned some stuff from it. And so the fun thing is coming out of this, I have a bunch of questions. And here are the questions that emerged from the survey and the census for me. Mostly, my big question is, why are the Oilers the dominant fan base in Alberta? We've figured out the pattern of fandom in Alberta, but the why kind of is interesting to me. For those of you who are unfamiliar, the Oilers predate the Flames in Alberta by a year in the NHL. They predate them by a little bit longer than that in the WHA. In the 80s, the Oilers had, to be honest, a lot more early success. The Flames were a good team throughout the 1980s. They won one Stanley Cup. The Oilers were, frankly, a better team in the 80s. Yes, they had Wayne Gretzky. Yeah, but it's not like your Stanley Cups matter less because of the players who got you there. Similarly, if you're looking at more recent years, the last decade or so, the Oilers have had Connor McDavid. And the Oilers have had more playoff success, and I think slightly more regular season success as well, than the Calgary Flames in that time frame. And so if you are someone who was either arriving in Alberta from elsewhere and did not have an allegiance, or you were growing up in Alberta and you didn't really have a well-defined allegiance to one side or the other one, I think the fact that the Oilers have had that success recently and historically might skew the data and fandom a bit towards Edmonton, all things being equal. A theory I have is that the immigration patterns between the rest of Canada and these two cities have also influenced things. Again, I cover the Flames. I've seen the Flames fans become a minority at times in their own building against other Canadian teams. You see a lot of opposition fans for games involving Vancouver, Edmonton, obviously, Winnipeg, Montreal, especially Toronto. A little bit less so for Ottawa. Ottawa seems to be the exception to the rule. I don't remember how Quebec City was. It was long enough ago that I don't remember one way or the other. But, Calgary has developed a reputation of being a transient city. As someone who grew up in Calgary, was actually born here, the running joke was, ha ha ha, there's like 5 of you that were actually born and raised in Calgary. And I don't think that's an unfair joke to make, because Calgary is, in a lot of ways, a transient city. People come to Calgary from all over the country to live, to work, to whatever. And so Calgary, I think you do have fans here who are hockey fans who bring their fandom with them. And as a result, when Toronto comes to town, they might cheer for the Flames the rest of the year. If the Leafs come to town, they're their primary team. They'll throw on their blue sweater. Edmonton also has a lot of folks migrating there from elsewhere. And in my experience, I've not covered a lot of Oilers games in Edmonton against anyone but the Flames. I've been told there are some, but I have been led to believe, again, secondhand, that you see more road fans for Canadian games in Calgary than in Edmonton. Not sure why that would be, though, because when I looked at the census data, because I am who I am, I looked at the census data because I didn't want to completely pull theory out of my butt. I don't know if the data backs up my immigration pattern theory, because generally speaking, slightly more people at best move from other provinces to Calgary than from other provinces to Edmonton. In terms of raw numbers, it's slightly skewed towards Calgary. In terms of percentages of the overall population, it's basically even. It's, I looked at 3 or 4 censuses dating back about 20 years. I admittedly cherry picked the data a bit because they only ask this kind of question in the census survey every few years. But at least dating back to the 90s, it was sometimes equal, sometimes very slightly skewed towards Calgary in terms of raw numbers, and the percentages are about the same. And so if you're going, there are more Leafs fans in Edmonton than there are Flames fans in Calgary, it's probably about equal. And, so you can't really say, there are, the fan bases in Calgary and Edmonton are being dominated by out-of-town fans who move to Calgary and Edmonton, because I don't know why one would be more dominated than the other. and the data suggests that it's probably about equal. So I don't know. Maybe there's something unique about sort of, I think there might be more involved in terms of the teams themselves and how the team success. I think that might be a better theory, but I don't know. I'm really curious about it. I don't have the answers, but not having the answers is kind of fun. So this is what I've learned from conducting this research, so to speak. What do you think? What do you think about fandom patterns in Alberta? And do you have a theory as to why there would be more Oilers fans and potentially more hardcore Oilers fans in Alberta than Flames fans? If you have any theories or anything else, comments or related questions, throw them in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, please click the like button. If you really like this video, please click the subscribe button. And as the summer wears on, I plan on doing a few more videos, and then we'll be a lot more regular with videos on the channel once we get into the fall and hockey starts up again. So thank you very much for watching, and thanks again. We'll see you next time.